units of Mazda, and GG is called. And the file's going to rain down, and it looks like he should be able to take this engagement right here.
Neeb once again takes out Hydra 3-0.
That's right, GG Nathanius from the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai, day number 3. As we start to ramp things up once again here now, we have our top 4 confirmed. As we have 2 Protoss, a Terran, and a Zerg going to be battling it out to find out who moves on to the final and who bags themselves that top prize of $16,000. A lot on the line here between these guys. And now we start things with ShoWTimE versus Neeb. Arguably the 2 best Protoss in the Western scene, Rotterdam. ShoWTimE versus Neeb.
There's no need for arguably. I think everybody agrees with this. It's hard to disagree. I mean, Neeb has been the most dominant Protoss in 2016 when it comes to the North American region by far. And ShoWTimE won, you know, the WCS Spring Championships, the DreamHack Tours. He's been very consistent, already qualified for the global playoffs. It doesn't get much better than this for a PvP in the foreign scene, and I generally could not be more excited. I have no idea who's going to take this, man. I really don't think either player is favored.
Nathanius, you're in the camp of Neeb, doing what you can, trying to push him on forwards. Is he good enough here with the caliber, with the results in the past, to be able to push on against ShoWTimE?
This is such a tough draw, man. I actually just, as much as I want to favor Neeb, and I'm going to stick to my guns, I'm going to get behind Neeb on this because he's my boy. ShoWTimE is a pretty damn tough opponent.
Yeah.
I can't say that this is going to be easy. I think either way, this should be like a 3-2 result. Both players are so good.
Now, at the moment, these two have only really played like once online, and that was during a base trade online tournament, 2-1 in favor of ShoWTimE. Doesn't really spell the total story between these two. ShoWTimE obviously winning the WCS Spring and moving forwards, guaranteeing himself a spot at the global finals. He's not under any pressure to try and move on because he's already there, but against Neeb, he would definitely want the glory here, Pig.
Absolutely, and I think definitely from their experiences on ladder, we did hear from Neeb previously that ShoWTimE gets the edge there.
This is awesome. In semifinals of the Intel Extreme Masters, and I'm looking at an American flag and a German flag. You know, I don't even have to check the history books to tell you that this has never happened before.
Not quite so here in the semifinals, as the Chinese crowd go wild there previously for these two players. They'll shake their hands and go to their booze. What a meteoric rise we've seen Neeb on. But likewise, ShoWTimE, it's not quite been meteoric, it's been so steady for ShoWTimE. Ever since he began, there's never really been, I would say, a dip in his performance bar, you know, winning a WCS Spring and then not winning the next tournament. That's the only thing that really comes to mind.
It's been so good to watch him play, you know, taking the WCS, being one of the top threats, taking some Meisterschaft as well. He's had a good year, and he's just keeping rolling. And that's one of the best feelings you must have as a player like ShoWTimE, is that you go in with that confidence of, I'm going to beat the global playoffs. All I got to do is just kick a little more butt along the way.
It's funny that you mentioned the Meisterschaft, actually, because that's the only thing he's lost out on recently, because he placed in 9th. Goody trumped him into the top 8.
The latest one.
Sorry, mate.
Rip. Not in the most recent one. Feels bad, man.
Oh, well.
You know, this is a PvP match, though, and the PvP meta has changed a lot recently, and this is something we definitely need to talk about. Adepts are the new meta. It's all about who can adapt more, who can play the better game in terms of that. And I talked to you know, ShoWTimE quite a bit just the other night, and he was saying, you know, like, you don't even build probes on a third Nexus half the time. Players are just kind of throwing adepts into each other's faces. I talked to Neeb just before the match as well, and he was like, well, you know, this is going to be really fun for the viewers. It's going to be crazy. I don't know if it's going to be a lot of fun for us playing this. Like, he just was like, it's really crazy right now in PvP.
Rotterdam, you're on the receiving end of these Protoss versus Protoss matchups. How is it going for you, or I suppose, like, in relation to these two players?
I agree with Pig said. Things have definitely changed. There was a time where everybody said, like, you have to open Blinkstalker and then get Disruptors. And then it all comes down to the Disruptor dance. But then people figured out, like, hey, we can actually hit a timing with a couple of Archons, Immortals, and Zealots, and you will not be able to hold. And then, of course, people started mixing in Adepts, because Adepts are very good against Zealots, and we're somewhere in the middle of all of that right now, where people are like, well, you know, if you make Adepts immediately, maybe I can go up to Disruptors again, but of course it's hard. People have an excellent read on the state of the game. I think we'll see some Stargate play as well. Phoenix is very fun. I think Phoenix is solid all around. I spoke with Neeb about it. Neeb is like, I don't think straight Phoenix is all that good, but I still think that Phoenix can get yourself in a very decent position in PvP. Gives you map control, map presence, and then of course you can do the right things after you see what your opponent is doing. So it's really spread across the board, and it's hard to say this is how they're going to play. I do still think there is a place for the Disruptor. It's just how do I get up to those Disruptors? But if you are able to get up there, if you're able to stabilize on 3 bases, Disruptors still rule the ground. Make no mistake. I mean, Disruptors are still awesome.
Is there anybody really here who kind of takes the pedestal as the guy with the better control? I don't think so when it comes to ShoWTimE and Neeb. Both of them are very much so up there.
I wouldn't want to make that statement.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if I had to make a distinction, I'd say Neeb's a little bit better at multitasking, like multiple micro battles, whereas ShoWTimE is just crisper in like a single front-on engagement, just because he uses a few more control groups. But if the game gets messy, Neeb usually looks a little bit cleaner.
All right, so for one of these players, obviously, it's an extremely big deal here to be able to move on to the grand finals here of an Intel Extreme Masters. Both Neeb and ShoWTimE haven't been there at all. How much pressure is on these guys? Do you think that ShoWTimE doesn't have as much pressure on him because he is in such a firm spot for WCS playoffs, or is how is it looking?
Nobody travels to China all the way to be in the semifinals and be like, you know what, that was pretty solid. I don't mind losing here. Like, of course, ShoWTimE wants to make it to the grand finals, and even though we say that he's very steady in his results, Homestar Cup 13 was a disappointing performance for ShoWTimE, and then DreamHack Valencia, he was in the quarterfinals, everything looked fine. He threw a 2-0 lead, so there is a little bit of pressure there that he wants to show that DreamHack Tours was not a fluke. Of course, we all know it wasn't a fluke because he's one of the absolute best damn Protosses in Europe, but he still wants to prove that. And of course, for both these guys, there's a little bit of extra prestige on the line where they finally go head to head. And we've all been looking at it. You know, Neeb is the North American Protoss, ShoWTimE is the European Protoss. They're representing more than just themselves here. It's a little bit of regional pride on the line, and I couldn't be more excited, man. I think it's going to be so cool.
I mean, you're a European living in America. Are you on split ends here?
He's
Roddy?
American.
Is he? Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, that was
Roddy's
aggressive.
Once you taste the amount of freedom that I have every day I wake up, there is no going back, James.
Okay.
He's one of us.
let's ask an impartial member then. Pig, you're from none of those regions. You're from a corner of the world nobody ever visits. Where are you going for here?
You know, honestly, I'm just here to see good matches. as cliched and
Wow.
horrible as that sounds, like, I mean, they're both fantastic players. I'm a big Neeb fanboy, but ShoWTimE, I just respect him so much as a player, and it's been that steady rise, and it's his ability to not tilt after losses that has brought him through so many tournaments
Pig's
this
answer
year.
is Neeb. Pig's on our side.
What? You can't just... Is he doing that for you?
He said he was a Neeb fanboy. He's good. He's clear.
Well, this is just what Americans do, man. They just take what you say and just give you some freedom and force it down your throat, apparently.
Well met.
All right, thank you very much, boys. Pleasure to talk with you, as always. We're going to be moving on now to our semi-final number 1. Who is moving on to the grand final? Will it be Neeb or will it be ShoWTimE? I'm handing you over to Todd and Valdez.
Welcome, guys, to the casting desk. We're about to jump into our first semifinal of the entire tournament. It's going to be Neeb versus ShoWTimE. As the guys on the desk have said, it's me, Valdez, with Todd, bringing you the PvP action.
Yeah.
We are going to jump straight into our first game here. It is going to be on King Sejong Station.
I've been dying to ask you if ShoWTimE's the European Zest, who's Neeb?
Neeb's just Neeb, man. I don't even want to compare him to someone.
Nice dodge.
Yeah, he's he also could be this top left Protoss here in the red. It is actually him. It is Neeb.
Looks really good so far in his tournaments. Beating Hydra once more. This time he gets the PvP test up against his opponent in the bottom right-hand side of the map. It's of course ShoWTimE. And mirror build orders here already from both players. The desk covered very well how the meta has shifted over in PvP, and we see a lot more adepts being used. Once upon a time, it was a lot more about getting Blink Stalkers out, going to Disruptors, unless you wanted to do some kind of one-base, super aggressive builds, which these two are not really the type to do that very, very much, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take a look at the map bans here, the vetoes and the picks. We do have Dazan Station taken away by ShoWTimE and New Gettysburg taken away by Neeb. And the first pick going over to ShoWTimE, King Sejong Station, then Frozen Temple, Apotheosis, Frost, and then Galactic Process, that big map for game number 5.
Yeah. Dazan Station, you know, is a very odd map, and usually, say if you practice a lot on ladder, if you will have it vetoed, you're less likely to, I guess, play on it in mirror as well in tournaments, unless, you know, it's totally different in mirror. But in the case of Dazan Station, it's still a pretty crazy map even in mirror, so makes perfect sense here to see them veto that. We have actually ShoWTimE opening with double Adept, whereas Neeb went for Stalkers. So usually the Stalkers will be a lot more for defense than anything, and Adepts can go forward. They're very, very fast. You can choose to sometimes trade them for a couple probes to pull ahead economically. But you don't necessarily have to at the same time. You have a lot of great initiative with them, though.
Yeah, you can get a lot of great scouting on, depending on where your opponent has their Stalkers, too. You're talking about the defensive capabilities of the Stalkers. They need to get on top of the Adepts. And when they shade, they need to follow the shades and make sure that they can't shade in lest they do die. You really just want to just discourage the Adepts from shading in. And nice job by ShoWTimE. He's like, no, I'm not going to check that ramp, no.
That was sick.
Yeah.
He saw that Stalker at the last second, pulled back exactly on time, because Neeb was actually fishing for that. A lesser player would have been caught there and would have taken a lot of damage on his Adept, maybe even lost one here, I think.
So look at this. ShoWTimE going to start with a Stargate here as his first tech, whereas Neeb going for a fast Nexus.
Yeah,
what do you think about that, Todd?
It's typical. ShoWTimE always really liked Stargates. I mean, back at the time in Heart of the Swarm, where he was kind of like, you know, Stargate, 1 Oracle, into Blink Stalkers on 3 gateways. He was one of the guys that kind of really mastered this build. And honestly, from what we gathered when Neeb did the interview earlier, he was saying that he loses a lot of game to ShoWTimE on ladder. So I expect ShoWTimE, you know, if he's winning usually against Neeb when they play, to try and play solid. He doesn't have to do anything special. Just use you know, what he's learned from those games, whereas Neeb might have to be the one to try something a little bit different than usual, which might be why we already see, you know, the Stalkers into a fairly quicker expand here. That Nexus is going to finish much earlier than his opponents.
Also, the robotics tech to start off here, not going to rush into any Twilight tech. No Blink for defense, no Resonating Glaze. He doesn't want to commit into the Adept follow-up anytime soon here. Wants to get a Warp Prism first. Perhaps off the back of that, he could definitely do some harass, try to get ShoWTimE off his back and back towards his base defending.
Let's see ShoWTimE here if he... I think what happens here a lot of the time is that he flies in, overcharge is forced, and then he pulls back immediately with the Oracle. But he could choose to try and suicide these Adepts to get probes on the natural and at the same time send the Oracle in the main. But the overcharge is so good, let's see. He's ready to pull it back already.
Oh, the double overcharge, and he stays too long, and there you go. A snipe on the Oracle, trading 1 Oracle for 1 probe.
But that means there will only be 1 overcharge left for the next Oracle that ShoWTimE made. So I think he knew that there was a possibility that this could happen. 1 overcharge is enough against an Oracle, but you are going to be able to fly it back though here if you're ShoWTimE. And then the next time there won't be an overcharge.
Now let's see when ShoWTimE does want to commit to the harass with that. Meanwhile, we do have this Warp Prism out on the map. I do not believe that ShoWTimE has spotted that.
Oh, he goes into the natural here, knowing that the Mothership Core is going to be in the main. Gets actually really not that much, just 1 probe. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Neeb again, much like versus Zerg, sniping a lot of walkers there.
This is so huge. Just going in there, doesn't lose a single Adept and snipes 7 probes for free. Only taking health damage, he's just going to get away. I was correct, the Warp Prism was not seen, and ShoWTimE is not reacting to that harass.
And behind this, Neeb, without taking the gases on his natural, starts the 3rd Nexus. He's quite a few walkers ahead, 41 to 29, Valdez.
Neeb is looking really strong, man. He's just looks so much more confident. Even ShoWTimE yesterday, taking only a 3-2 victory, was not looking like the cool, confident self that we're used to from ShoWTimE, and struggling a bit under the pressure here in this game as well.
I feel like we haven't seen the rise of Neeb fully complete yet. He's still got yet to learn more and progress, and eventually I feel like sky's the limit in terms of his potential. Like, I mean, he's such a young player. The same could be said about ShoWTimE, but Neeb he's truly skyrocketed to the very top of the StarCraft food chain, in my opinion, in the foreign scene, and he's just so impressive. And already in this game, look, gateway explosion, 5 more gateways, resonating glaives. If Neeb realizes that he's very far ahead economically and that he has such an earlier 3rd, he could just get a prism, go across the map, and keep on warping in Adepts and make sure that basically finishes it or prevents ShoWTimE from ever really getting into a comfortable position with his 3rd base. And I mean, he already has that prism.
Yeah, he already has it. He's already done the critical damage there at that natural even. ShoWTimE, no sign of a 3rd base. It looks like he wants to try to put on some harass himself. He's made this Warp Prism, but Neeb is just ahead in everything, in workers, and bases, and army supply. Army composition looks better for Neeb. It's just not really going ShoWTimE's way this game.
There's no gamble taken by Neeb either. He leaves a couple Stalkers in his natural. Mothership Core was in the main for the longest time here, making sure that no Oracle can fly in there and do damage. He actually moved it toward the natural. He needs to be careful because the Oracle is going to move in his main in a second. But that aggression here from Neeb is going to be massive because he's got quite a bit more supply here. 56 army against 42.
He's going to shade up here. We'll see if he does commit. No, he's going to check the third first. Sees no third, and he's like, oh, wow, okay. I don't even, you know, he doesn't even necessarily have to attack in here. I think it would still be a good idea. And it looks like he may just be going for that now. There are 2 pylons plus the mothership core, so it is a bit dangerous. He's going to wait.
ShoWTimE's killing a lot of probes across the map on that third base, and Neeb might feel like he's forced to attack right now. He's got so much army supply.
And look at this coming in. The force fields are very, very good. You could just see how much bigger his army is, and really nice Micro even dropping, or rather picking up the Adepts into the War Prism and dropping them out again. This is unbelievable.
He can reinforce safely with the War Prism as well. I think Neeb's done it here in map number 1. ShoWTimE down to his last few forces. Photon Overcharge didn't even come into play until it was too late here at the back of his Nexus. And Neeb with a super solid here, map number 1.
GG, Neeb taking game number 1 and making it look easy.
Easy peasy, man. Did everything he needed to do. Much earlier Nexus, defensive Stalkers, and ShoWTimE here already from map number 1. Not really finding any kind of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, you can even tell a pretty harsh reaction there on camera too, where he's like covering his mouth. He's like, "Oh crap!" that was one-sided. Oops. Gonna have to pick it up there for game number 2, and I mean, we could just even go over everything that went wrong in that game for ShoWTimE. He goes for the Oracle, and he really needs to get damage done because his Nexus is far behind. But it immediately gets sniped by a really attentive Neeb, and then after that, just the drop coming in with the 3 Adepts gets 7 probes, a late pull, no response, a late response as well.
This was
from there, Neeb just got so far ahead.
Yeah, it was just such a solid build here from Neeb. If you're a Protoss player and you're looking for, I guess a solid way to play in Mirror, just make sure you rewatch that VOD, write down everything that he did, because I feel like the Nexus timing, is not too late that you're going to fall very far behind against greedy play, but not so early, or decently early that you're going to get ahead against an aggressive build like this. And he made the Mothership Core so fast that having triple overcharge when the first Oracle got there means that you have double against the first one that you take out, and you still have another one if a second Oracle is to follow up the first one. So it's just so solid, and even the Robo behind this made sure that he was never going to lose to any kind of DTs and all that.
Also, just the 4 Stalkers to start it off. If your opponent goes Adepts, you're just going to be able to defend it. They really can't punish you for that early Nexus, so they kind of just meekly take a later Nexus, or they have to get some harass damage done. So Neeb getting very far ahead in that game. We're going to jump into game number 2 on Frozen Temple. Down in the bottom right, in the red, winning that last one from NA, it is Neeb.
Looked so good in map number 1 here. Doing North America proud so far. And in the top left-hand side of the map, it's of course ShoWTimE. Going for a wall off up his ramp here. So a little bit of a different approach, perhaps worried about the Adepts. Might mean that he wants to play Adepts himself. In which case, if the opponent didn't wall off, and you can get your own Adepts in his base and he can't in yours, obviously you're going to be able to do well. But Neeb, not going for the wall off, might encourage Stalker play even more, much like in the previous game. And I mean, he was just so successful in the previous game that if I was him, I'd definitely try to play similarly. It's not like he needs to cheese or anything. He just showed that he can play a very, very good standard game.
Yeah. And Neeb probably not going to do the same build on this map. I think this is the shortest rest distance outside of Dasan Station. Correct me if I'm wrong, but definitely a 2-player map. That's one of our smaller ones when you compare it to the map pool in general. So probably just going to play it a bit more safely here. He's going to scout first. ShoWTimE not going for the scout at all. And he is going to be able to come up in here and see just about everything.
Typical European Protoss. Historically, guys like Sase, Naniwa always were so reluctant to send a probe out and scout. They wanted that extra 20 mineral.
I mean, it's a mirror matchup. Every bit of minerals does help, of course. Gets your build out there just that split second faster, which, of course, at the highest level of StarCraft is very important.
If you feel like you're good enough, at reading situations, and ShoWTimE's even going Adept, so it's not like he needs that very early scouts. Obviously, the Adepts are going to be the units, to go across the map and finally give him the information, and we see similar openers there. From seeing the wall off, I think Neeb's already anticipating the double Adept production. ShoWTimE actually hiding that probe around his natural here to not reveal he might have wanted to go for a Nexus, and that's a super fast Nexus here this time around from Neeb.
He canceled both of his Stalkers, and he's just getting a Nexus. Even the Mothership Core, it comes out now eventually.
Yeah.
But
I like it. I think it's good. I don't think he's supposed to take any damage there because he's now going to get double Stalker. And by the time those Adepts get here across the map from ShoWTimE, who finally picks up that probe here in the middle of the map, there's going to be enough to defend against this. I don't think ShoWTimE can commit to aggression, and since he's going for a Nexus, it's not like he's going to be able to really punish that quicker Nexus from his opponent. And Neeb probably anticipates the Nexus to go down across the map, so all he has to do is keep up with his pro production. If you look at the production tab, he's the only one making walkers right now. Loses a couple here very quickly.
Nice harass here from ShoWTimE. A great response. He's like, oh, okay, you don't have any defense. I'm just going to come in here and snipe a bunch of workers for free.
He messed up the overcharge a bit, I think. Maybe he was a little bit too hasty because that didn't shoot for a very long time. And ShoWTimE getting 5 probes there, that really brings him back into it. I feel like without that, he would have been a decent bit behind.
Yeah. Looks like he will lose both of his Adepts here. Does trade 2 Adepts for the 5 workers, but definitely worth it this early on in the game. Wants to try to come back with that harass, and do see both players now going for the robotics facility here. ShoWTimE's is just a bit earlier.
Yeah, no big deal there. And going for the Twilight Council here already, Neeb really thinking about those resonating glaives. He's done so well in, not just versus Protoss, really. Legacy of the Adept really coming through true meaning here with that player.
Every time he gets on the couch, he's like, yeah, guys, Resonating Glaives is pretty good. Adepts are so just useful in general. You can attack, you can defend, you can harass, you can do just so many things. You can scout. He said all of this on the couch, and it's really true. I mean, Adepts are a fantastic unit, and he's using them to his advantage.
ShoWTimE starting his Twilight Council as Resonating Glaives already started here for Neeb, so that's going to be much later than his opponents, but he's going for a Prism. And now just got it, so looking to try and apply some aggression here across the map. But Neeb defensively has been just so solid so far that I don't see him taking any damage from this. You see, he's got Stalkers and Sentries in his natural, he's got the Mothership Core towards the main. And all alike, Neeb across the map with his 2 Adepts, he's not really supposed to be able to do anything. There's enough in defense here for ShoWTimE. So they're even on walkers. I was wondering, actually, going into this series, you know, obviously, those 2 players are very good at late game and stuff, but it's PvP, so you never really know how explosive a game could be.
Yeah.
They could have had some very fast games, and sure, the first one wasn't super long, wasn't super short either, but it looks like this one, we might have a longer game here, unless something crazy happens very soon. We could be seeing, you know, 3 bases, 4 bases come into play, and maybe an even longer game. Wow,
oh, nice,
that's
actually. I was questioning that. I was like, wait, what? Really? You're going to warp? You're going to shade in there? But he had the Warp Prism right nearby. Picks it up. Hot pick up there by ShoWTimE, getting a bit of damage done. And here's that Gateway Explosion.
He's going to do it again, maybe? No, it doesn't send the Prism.
Well, he
that was,
follow.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, here he goes. Going to try to come in here and snipe some probes. Gets 2, loses 1 Adept.
This is a sick move here.
Yeah.
I love it.
We see that sometimes with Dark Templar, you know, even against Terran, where it's like you go in there, you drop it, you kill a bunch, and then they scan, and then you just pick it up from a mile away. You're like, haha, I'm out of here. Good luck with that. And yeah, just getting some nice harassment damage done.
Neeb is the only one going for upgrades, by the way, out of the Forge. And ShoWTimE, or neither player rather, took the 4th gas on their natural. So just focusing a little bit more on minerals. We don't see too many probes more being made. Right now, the only one making them is Neeb. And third Nexus is going to start earlier here for ShoWTimE.
ShoWTimE's got that Warp Prism still out on the map. He warps in just 1 more Adept. Continuously wants to scout here and perhaps even get some more damage done. Is he going to commit? Yeah, there he goes again and then flies away.
Wow.
This is so funny.
But the funny thing about this is that, you know, everybody used to go Blink, in which case you could have shut down this Warp Prism. But with Adepts being so good now and everybody going Adepts, you can just get away with this somehow for the longest of times.
That's the fun part about StarCraft. As the metas go in and out, it's like, you know,
Neeb's going to do the same.
Stuff opens up. Yeah, Neeb's like, oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, he's going to do it with 2 Adepts in the main, where there's actually really not much right now for ShoWTimE. In the natural, Overcharge was used early enough.
Yeah, and coming in here, he is going to lose the trade. Not really going to be able to get any economic damage done. Didn't target at the natural either.
Ooh, Dark Shrine starting here. For ShoWTimE in the back of his main mineral line, I think he realizes that nothing is supposed to be scouting. And anytime soon, Overcharge across the map on the Warp Prism. Oh, if he had targeted, might have been able to get it. And ShoWTimE is going to get a cancel on that 3rd base of Neeb. So while his 3rd Nexus already finished, so I like his position here with getting the Dark Shrine that Neeb shouldn't be finding out about if ShoWTimE is careful enough.
And the thing about this, the reason that ShoWTimE can just walk across the map and do this is, one, I mean, there's a lot of harassment going on from Neeb, but he also went into High Templar and into Archons, and he has the upgrades ahead of ShoWTimE. And ShoWTimE, I don't even think he made a Forge.
Yeah, Neeb might all in a second if he realizes everything. Like, he sees the third base here, he was dropping it for a second. He starts to hit an Expo. Whoa!
Oh, what?
He's pulling a bit of a has move here.
Yeah, there we go. And I'm not sure that ShoWTimE is going to expect
Oh, if he sees
that.
the Dark Shrine, this is huge, by the way, because this is just before it finishes. He could be getting ready perfectly. Oh, he saw something already in the dark there. But he's not getting cannons back at home. And Neeb, he only has one observer right now.
Yeah, it looks like he didn't click the building, perhaps.
Yeah.
The Observer is with the army, but if he moves out here just as the Dark Shrine finishes up and 2 Dark Templar coming in.
That Prism is posturing in that position as well, so it could be very, very dangerous there if he sent DTs in multiple mineral lines. ShoWTimE, that is.
Oh boy, still no cannons coming down, still no extra observers being made. He just does not know about these DTs, and he's moving out at the same time. He's got a very strong attack. But in fact, all these DTs are being morphed into Archons, it looks like.
Yeah, so far. I'm a little bit surprised. I think, okay, ShoWTimE's going to shade a couple of adepts in the natural of Neeb here, who's not ready for this. The Mothership Core is in the main. He needs to react very quickly. He's up the ramp here against this massive army of Neeb. ShoWTimE has more army supply. If Overcharge comes into play, he's going to be at a great advantage.
Neeb should wait for +2 as well. He doesn't need to fight this right now. Look at the force fields. Really nice micro there, pulling back the Immortals.
Neeb has one more Immortal, by the way, which could be a big deal here. 4th one against just the 3 of ShoWTimE.
Delaying a lot of mining time there may hurt the production of Neeb on the attack, and looks like he's getting less and less confident with every second. He's going to back off and not commit to that attack. Does shade in 2 adepts. This is cute.
And with that hidden Expo now, Neeb might be confident enough to pull back. I think he realized he wasn't going to break through that position, even though he has one more Immortal, so he pulls back. He might even have clicked on his opponent's units and seen that, what? This guy is 0-0 and I have 2-0? Let me just pull back and recollect here for a second, because I'm actually quite a bit ahead in upgrades.
And you can see that ShoWTimE had that War Prism over at the 3rd base. It looked like he wanted to pressure there, but he's like, wait, you still don't have a 3rd base? Something is going on. He hasn't scouted it directly, but I think he saw some units moving over there, and now he's going to scout.
Oh man, if ShoWTimE had sent DTs into the middle lines of Neeb, this game might be over already.
Yeah.
There is nothing there. No extra observer, no cannons, nothing at all.
I think you're 100% right. It would have been just game over. Like, how is he going to respond? His observer was all the way across the map. He would have to chrono boost out another observer,
he'd lose 15 probes for sure.
He would lose way too much and way too much mining time if he didn't lose the probes.
He might have to go all in and lose everything in the game. So definitely quite a bit surprised here by this. But ShoWTimE looking to try and drop some more adepts here in the main base of Neeb in a second. Having spotted that hidden expansion, he might be looking to try and hit that location with his main army, and at the same time warping a lot of units in the main of Neeb here to maybe even fight against the overcharges of his opponent, which right now, we are going to have 4 in a second.
He's making a DT now, and Neeb still doesn't know about this. He still doesn't know. He still has no cannon and still
he's
just
hear
one
the noise
observer.
in his mineral line and not going to be a happy chap.
He's got 1 cannon at the 3rd, but nothing at the natural or the main. Overcharges here.
Look at that number on the left-hand side here. Probes dying are going to be in huge, huge numbers. Actually, Neeb finally sneaked 2 adepts in the natural of ShoWTimE, and he's doing a bit of damage as well with this.
This is actually a lot of damage. No response. Finally, a warp in, but Neeb actually getting more damage than ShoWTimE did. I suppose Neeb did lose a lot more mining time, but this DT still lives. I believe another observer's out by this time and will go down.
And now that he sends... he finally sent a DT to the main, and now there was an observer.
Yeah.
Too little, too late, ShoWTimE, who's chasing on the army of Neeb right now. He's confident enough to take a fight. I think Neeb's about to turn around. Both players are going to be reinforcing with the Prism, but Neeb almost loses his.
Very important to keep that alive, not just for warp pins, but for micro. He needs to keep the Immortals alive here, and ShoWTimE, he wants to fight. He wants to go in, but no, he's not going to commit.
Yeah, not yet. I don't think he's quite sure whether he has a big army. He does. He's about to catch up in upgrades, actually. +2 is about to finish.
Yeah.
Whereas +3 is still a couple seconds here, maybe a minute away from finishing for Neeb.
Maybe he knows that he's waiting, and he's also got Neeb in kind of a chokehold. He's, cornered him in between this hidden base and his natural.
Neeb is in trouble. He loses the 3rd base there, saves the probes. Gonna restart that Nexus immediately. If Neeb waits until he gets +3, by the way, here, he's gonna take a serious option on potentially winning this fight, although he's still behind in army supply. And look, +3 is about to finish. He's gonna engage just a little bit before. Okay, no,
he
it pulls
waits.
back.
He waits. Nice concave here from ShoWTimE, denying the fight. It's going to be very hard for Neeb to engage into this.
And now they finally, he's a cannon in the natural middle line of Neeb there, so sending a DT there wouldn't even work.
Yeah, we do see now trying to come across the top side. Gonna snipe that War Prism. Very, very important.
ShoWTimE. Losing a couple units here at the back. Even losing an observer here in this fight. He's still got another one, but if that gets sniped...
And he's only fighting with half of his army. Half of it was fighting a small amount of units of Neeb on the right side. Now some really great force fields here from Neeb to try to split this army in half. Still a very even fight here.
Yeah, I'm not even sure who's winning. I think Neeb might have a little bit more.
Just barely?
Yeah, being able to reinforce so close to the fight as well. ShoWTimE, his Prism was threatened, so he pulled it back.
And that's just
right
going to be it. He wins the fight, and now he's up hugely in army supply.
ShoWTimE having to make Archons from DTs was so costly that I think he had less
Yeah, I mean,
of them.
GG, that's going to be it. Neeb takes the fight. And that fight was a little bit less close than we had imagined. Yeah. I think it came down to the +3.
Yeah, +3 against +2 is huge. Like.
Yeah. It's huge. You know, you were talking about the costly Archons compared to the less costly Archons of Neeb, and even just the positioning in that fight. Neeb did a really great job of just coming around the top side of the concave and forcing ShoWTimE to move out of position.
I can't wrap my head around North America and America in particular are doing so well, man.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable.
Neeb is for real. Like he's been rising on the scene for a long time, but more and more we're seeing him having those impressive series, and now he goes up 2-0 against ShoWTimE. This is insane. Look at ShoWTimE. He looks shaken at this point.
He looks lost at this point. He's kind of lost as to what to do in response to Neeb. He's laughing to himself. He's like, I don't even know. He's like, this is absurd. PvP is just absurd right now.
It's crazy to think that 2 DTs could have won this game for him. 2 DTs. I think he would have killed so much had he sent 1 Dark Templar in the main base of his, and he even had the War Prism across the map. I was so sure he was going to do it. But there's always this mind game of, will he have an observer there? You know, they say they played on ladder before, and usually ShoWTimE gets the better end of Neeb. Maybe he played a bunch of games in which Neeb had an observer in his main, because sometimes you do that as Protoss. He also knew, I think he knew that there was a fort from Neeb, in which case if there is at least 1 cannon
he scouted that.
per middle line, you can't do anything without Templars. It's just like you're throwing very important units away. So he was like, you know what, I'm not even going to bother. And I don't know if Neeb took the gamble voluntarily or he just didn't have the economy to start some cannons, but
I think he saw, you know, the glowing building it was warping in, but he didn't know that it was a dark shrine. He probably just assumed it was a pylon. That's like always that problem, right?
Even without any real hints of seeing the Dark Templars, you always kind of keep them on your mind, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, it was a massive gamble of him to only have 1 observer that was hanging out with his army around the 3rd base, having nothing in the main and natural. By the way, this is how you automatically lose the game if the opponent sends in DTs.
ShoWTimE, same thing. He had 1 observer as well and no forge. So he was like taking that gamble as well.
Yeah.
He's like, if he goes DTs, I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm going to do because...
But ShoWTimE's 3rd base was close to his main and natural though. So his observer would have been a lot closer, whereas Neeb going for a hidden base, he was actually quite far away from that.
There's just so much to talk about in this series. We're jumping into game number 3 already. Neeb up 2-0, trying to take the quick 3-0 as he has been doing all tournament long. And he's going up against ShoWTimE here. Up in the top left in the red, up 2 games from North America. It is Neeb. America coming in strong.
His opponents playing as the blue Protoss, it's of course Millennium's ShoWTimE. Gonna have to put in some serious work here to try and come back in this series. As good a player he is, I'm sure ShoWTimE here would love to face Euthermal or Violet in the Grand Finals. I mean, whoever wins here in this PvP, I think he's gonna be favored in Grand Finals no matter what. And right now it's looking like it might be Neeb. ShoWTimE's gonna have to play really, really well to beat this guy right now because Neeb's on fire.
Neeb has just, he didn't dominate that second game, but he dominated the first one. And he's looked ahead at many different points in the second game as well. So he looks, even in the games that these 2 players are playing against, like the favorites. And when you're down 0-2 against a guy who you feel is beating you at every different turn, it is so hard. Compared to imagine like it's really, really close, but he just barely beats you. Then you're like, okay, maybe I can do this. You know, this is a good map for me. I know this map. But I don't know. ShoWTimE's in a really rough spot right now.
Neebs is the one playing solid in every single way there. He's the one who's been scouting earlier than ShoWTimE, sometimes when ShoWTimE didn't even scout, like in the previous game. He's not even cutting any corners, really. All he's doing is playing more solid than his opponent, and so far it's paid off, really. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna want to continue to do that. Now, those ShoWTimE start to get a little bit desperate himself and tries to play, I guess, to get a little bit more aggressive. Well, already, as I say that, chooses to eliminate that one probe and lose a few minerals for it. Adepts versus Adepts here. Finally, we're seeing that matchup as Neeb finally opts out of, away from going for the Stalkers he went for in the first 2 games.
Do you think that's map dependent, or is this just basically, you know, what they want to do in terms of their builds? What are you thinking?
There might be a bit of a mind game there, where he did Stalkers twice in a row, and he's maybe hoping to catch ShoWTimE up a ramp or something, and start damaging his Adepts very early. In which case, like if you can snowball completely out of control if you start sniping the Adepts of your opponent with your own.
Yeah, for sure. And both players going for 2 Adepts to start, but it looks like ShoWTimE following up with 2 more and a Stargate, whereas Neeb going for 2 Stalkers. This one probe is just chilling out here. Is he going to make like a Maka something? No, he's just going to go for the gold base. That's what he wants, man. He wants to go to the finals, and he wants to go for the gold.
I see what you did there. Neeb, is he going to shade in just yet? Oh, he gets a probe, which reveals his position here to ShoWTimE. He's shading in. Is he going to cancel that one? I'm not sure.
I think he should.
No, he lets it finish.
Mothership Core is in here. We were actually looking at the other side where ShoWTimE did scout the gold base and snipe 1 probe, I believe. And now Neeb just trying to get out of here desperately.
He's going to get out.
Same time, ShoWTimE coming in, sniping, it looks like just 3 probes.
Yeah.
Does lose both Adepts for it.
And interesting. Neeb spotted the target, but still goes for a Robo. I think he realizes that it's probably going to be 1 or 2 Oracles against which, you know, in the previous game we saw in the first game, how you can just split your Stalkers to protect one base and then task the Mothership Core to cover the other one. If it had been Phoenixes, though, it could have been in trouble. Say, for example, ShoWTimE now made a couple of Phoenixes, started flying around, sniping probes and all that, because then you can get some sure kills where the Stalkers are. Neeb could have been in trouble, so he's taking a bit of a gamble, but sometimes you have to. And Twilight Council, again, going to start very fast behind this here for Neeb. He really has his standard build order he likes to stick to. And that pylon, by the way, around the natural of ShoWTimE is so good to have some vision in case something was going to come towards him. We see it on the minimap, just around his natural base.
It's funny you mentioned this just standard build that Neeb is going for, just a comfortable build. Maybe he's kind of figured out this crazy meta of PvP and he's like, this is the comfortable build for me. This works most of the time. And it's working so far. He gets his gold base up first. The Oracle gets deterred there in the main, and no damage done by ShoWTimE.
I think a good thing that ShoWTimE could do here is shading the Adepts into the gold base and sending the Oracles to try and snipe some more. But he's sending some Adepts right now towards the main of Neeb, forcing 1 overcharge. He's got 1 more Adept here. Gonna try to get some more probes.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no more overcharges now in the main, but there's still 2 Stalkers there. So, you know, the 2 Oracles could actually ignore that, but it does get scouted by Neeb. And is he going to respond here? I think he's got to warp in more Stalkers in the main.
Blink was started here from Neeb, by the way. And then he cancelled and went for Resonating Glaives. He was like, wait, what am I doing? This is not this is not Heart of the Swarm there.
Yeah.
There is Adepts actually exist here in Legacy of the Void. Let me get some of them. And the Twilight Council only starts now for ShoWTimE, who finds a way to get a couple probes but loses an Oracle.
Yeah, that's got to hurt. The last max range shot from that 1 Stalker kills the 2nd Oracle. Having 2 Oracles is just, it's really powerful, and losing 1 is not going to make him happy for sure. And Neeb, once again, is ahead. He's behind in workers, but he's ahead in army supply, and he's had that gold for longer here.
And he's defending perfectly here so far. 2 more gateways gonna go down for the American player. 2 more for ShoWTimE at home. Actually 4 more. He's starting 2 more right now. So the big gateway explosion here. And I guess with his slight economic lead right now, it's quite all right to do that. Ooh, nice chase here. ShoWTimE. Almost getting 1 Adept.
Yeah, and it looks like not a good focus there by Neeb. Only gets 1. Probably could have only gotten 1 at the end of it all. Anyway.
All right. Neeb says, I'll raise your 6 gates with 8 of mine.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, you know, with the gold base. Essentially, the reason why it's good is because you need less probes to saturate it. And Neeb was sticking on less probes for longer. And maybe that's good. You know, maybe ShoWTimE made the probes too early, especially if they're not thinking about going for the third base just yet. And so far, with the amount of gateways that both players are making, it doesn't look like quite yet they're going to go for it.
Yeah,
so.
Templar Archive starting earlier here for Neeb, who seemingly almost always starts everything before ShoWTimE does it. 3 Adepts going to be shaded into the main here. I think he might actually go for this one to try and snipe some more probes. Nope, cancels the last second and then pulls back. And Nexus is going to be started here, I think, in a second for ShoWTimE on his natural. Neeb being very active with hallucinated Phoenixes, by the way. He's got only 2 sentries, but all of that energy is going towards scouting as much as he can, and same for ShoWTimE.
Yeah,
we still got that Oracle, by the way, posturing towards the main.
It's coming back into the main. It does get a revelation down.
That Oracle was basically screaming at the Mothership Core, please overcharge so I can fly away, but Neeb didn't budge.
Neeb is just, he's on fire, man. He's looked untouchable. The one, he hasn't lost a single game in this tournament, right? He went 3-0, 3-0.
Did he?
I believe so. Against
I know
the
he won
two
the last
Zergs.
one 3-0, yeah.
Yeah, and he faced Tudming in the round of 16 as well. So
oh, yeah.
He's 6-0 right now. And no, he's 8-0 right now because he has 2 wins over ShoWTimE, and he's looking for that 9-0.
Oh, man. That guy's quickly becoming one of the absolute, if not the best foreigner.
Yeah.
Impressive. Being impressive more and more. He's had a couple hiccups, you know, like lost to Marine Lord over in Valencia.
Yeah.
In a very one-sided, actually, Protoss versus Terran.
Look at this, though. We're going to have a bit of a base trade. All of the Adepts coming into the gold base of Neeb.
What the hell?
Neeb's army is all the way across the map. Looks like ShoWTimE gets there first.
And ShoWTimE, upon seeing the base trade ignite here, he starts a Dark Shrine in the back of his main mineral line.
Immediately. He's like, no, I need this right now.
He's trying to pull back his Mothership Core back at home. He's got double overcharge here to work with, whereas Neeb will have way more. He's going to have 4 in a second here. If he uses those very well, he's going to reduce the army count of ShoWTimE very, very rapidly.
Yeah, it's very important. We're getting a good look at just how much damage both these players can do. Oh, a recall of all the probes, it looks like, to the other Nexus. So he's going to save all of those probes. Very nicely done by ShoWTimE.
He can start another base across the map,
yeah.
and Neeb is trapped back at home. He already lost his Nexus on the gold base, so he cannot recall out. He's going to try to escape, but ShoWTimE's Eagle Eye does not miss these probes here. And ShoWTimE, he could just take the main of Neeb and camp it up the ramp.
Yeah, he really
could. And the Dark
could.
Shrine's about to finish too, but he's supply blocked, so he should actually just cancel that. There's an observer as well.
Cancel that ShoWTimE. Well, okay. He may let that finish, but either way, ShoWTimE's still in a pretty good spot. The only thing going for
the Warp
Neeb...
Prism is flying back for Neeb. He's going to try to evacuate. He might be able to pick up these probes at the bottom.
The evacuation plan. Get the Warp Prism.
He can even get a lot of
probes.
out. He can elevator them out.
Yeah.
He's picking up the probes, Neeb, at home.
There he goes. He's going to drop him out, and ShoWTimE has no idea about
this. Is happening.
He's literally just sneaking out the back door. Tyrion Lannister, look at this. He's just getting out of here. He's like, okay. And he's got enough minerals. He is being revealed. But after he makes that Nexus, ShoWTimE is going to know that he's still out on the map, and this game is about to get crazy, guys.
Actually, Neeb has more army supply, which is very scary. It means that if they clash, he might actually just win rideouts.
And it really came down to the overcharges, you know? I think he sniped a lot of those Adepts.
Yeah. ShoWTimE, though, he's got double the amount of probes, even more. 34 probes to 15. So if he's able to establish that base on the top right-hand side, his income from the very start is going to be incredible.
Yeah, he's made the Nexus first, too. So he's going to be mining first. He can re-get that production up faster. It was scouted, though, by Neeb.
Yeah, I think an Oracle here could be huge, because he could perma-reveal Neeb's army. There is also going to be the threat of the Oracle flying in and sniping probes here off Neeb. And he could set up some good traps as well to set up some good fights with. So, ShoWTimE, although he's got less army supply, he's got some great initiative, reveals the army of Neeb and starts working on some probes here. There is only 1 Archon, 2 Stalkers, and a Sentry for Azentair.
For now, Neeb, even though he's got the higher army supply, he's going to be forced to defend those probes until he gets some kind of, you know, either cannons or his Mothership Core back online, some pylons as well. Nice bit of harassment with the Warp Prism and the Immortal, really just trying to poke at these units here.
This is the happiest Prism and Immortals there. Neeb actually, his Mothership Core is around that area.
Look at the
what
army.
Anti-Air is there? There is no Anti-Air.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than overcharge. Oh, wow.
Oh, that is huge. He loses that very high in energy Mothership Core, trying to harass the mineral line there. And it looks like Neeb has kind of identified that he's got a bigger army and he wants to put on pressure.
Yeah, he forced an overcharge here. There's going to be 2 left here in a second for ShoWTimE. So if Neeb thinks he has more, he might go for it. I really like that Neeb just plays it so solid, leaves 3 Stalkers in his mirror line against the Oracle that's still flying around the map. Which actually, if ShoWTimE realized that, maybe he could fly into the sentries of Neeb and snipe them. Because Guardian Shield is going to be very important.
Perhaps. Here we go. It looks like Neeb definitely does want to attack here, but as you said, it looks like 2 overcharges at this moment are available. Gonna start poking at the buildings on the outside.
ShoWTimE. He's missing pylons. He needs a lot of pylons. Obviously gonna cancel that shade here. He's not crazy.
Look at that micro too. And the Adept gets shot. He just picks it up, puts it right back down. Oh, the force field. He's gonna kill one Immortal. A huge pickoff for Neeb.
Neeb's a beast. I think he might have done it here. That was such an important Immortal. He already had more army supply. He's going to be able to warp in here in a second too with his 1 gateway. ShoWTimE on 3 gates, finally able to warp in some of his own units.
Finally, and he has the minerals and gas to do it. He's got to warp in.
He almost has an overcharge, but there's going to be no pylons close enough to attack this army.
Looks like he
ShoWTimE is getting desperate.
Yeah, he's pulled all the probes. He wants to go for a fight, but another couple of really great force fields there.
Neeb needs to be careful, actually. If he fights against the probe and loses.
And the Oracle, too.
Yeah.
There's not that much
If
anti-air
ShoWTimE
here.
has enough army left over, he can just walk across the map, kill those 3 Stalkers, and end the game.
Look at the positioning of Neeb. I think he knows it, too. He's just backed off just a little bit. He's like, okay, I'm not going to fight your probes. I'm not going to do that. And so ShoWTimE's like, okay, I'll send them back to work. So now what is Neeb going to do? I mean, he just continually scouts. And he still has the bigger army, but he can't quite attack.
Yeah, ShoWTimE. He's still ahead on walkers, by the way, 29-16. So the longer he stays in this game, the better chance he's going to have at maybe doing something. He starts a Twilight Council here for some reason. Not sure why exactly.
Well, let's take a look at the upgrades. They both have Resonating Glaives and Warp Gate Research. That's it.
I don't think Dark Shrine here would be very good. He should know that there's at least 1 observer, but unless he plans on sniping that.
And it
maybe
can't,
maybe
it can't
just
be
Templar,
Blink, right?
Templar Archives
Yeah,
and some Archons, and then going for another base because he's got a crazy amount of probes here, actually.
I agree with you.
Whoa, Neeb! What?
Oh, he just barely saves that, but
that
he takes a lot of health damage on that 1 Immortal.
If ShoWTimE had overcharged the top pylon here, he might have been able to get the Prism.
Yeah.
That was such a big gamble.
And look at the tech here of
Double
Neeb.
Stargates.
And
hidden
plus
on the
1.
map.
Yeah. He's got another
my
base
God.
out on the map, too. Or no, that's not another base. It's the 2 Stargates, my bad. So it's going to be hidden for now. ShoWTimE has not seen it. Even though that
Stargates.
The Oracle's right there. He's right next to the gates.
And he starts the Dark Shrine? This is madness. He starts the Dark Shrine in the back of his base here to ShoWTimE. He starts another base on the right-hand side as well. What is it going to be? Void Race or Phoenixes? Phoenixes.
Yeah.
All right. I guess he's not that rich, right? Actually, he doesn't even have full saturation on the minerals here in his base, does
Yeah.
he? Oracle flying in.
Phoenixes are an interesting choice. Not a lot of anti-air, obviously, for ShoWTimE. He's got 3 Stalkers and 2 Sentries. That's about it. So if you get enough Phoenixes and they're hidden for long enough, you could definitely swoop in there and kill a ton of probes.
You know what's crazy? Neeb's Observer keeps getting revealed by the Oracle. If that got sniped eventually, that's his only Observer there, and he has no Robo. So he could die to DTs, technically, but I just don't see ShoWTimE moving out and getting that sniped here eventually. Like, he's supposed to kind of turtle himself. What a crazy game, man. Double Phoenix production now on the way for Neeb here, who funnily enough, usually when you have 2 Stargates, you have 2 Nexuses, right? Right now he only has 1, so he can only chrono boost 1 of the Stargates.
It's funny, maybe he should have just gone for 1, but even so, it looks like ShoWTimE now moving to his 2nd base. He still hasn't seen the Stargates out on the right side.
ShoWTimE being able to reveal the army of Neeb here is huge, by the way.
Sees the Stargates and sees the 4 Phoenixes here.
I guess he's just going to start Blink, or what does he do?
I mean, look at this army. There's 2 Stalkers. He warps in a 3rd one.
Oh, the sentries? Oh, you did not move out like this, ShoWTimE.
I mean,
unbelievable.
He sees the Phoenixes, and he does not keep the sentries safe. Definitely a mistake here. Now coming in, trying to snipe a bunch of probes. This is what I was talking about. No Mothership Core, only 1 pylon even, and not enough Stalkers.
ShoWTimE with the earlier 2nd base here. Somehow. And Neeb's moving out now. He's starting to feel confident. He's got Phoenixes to pick up the Immortals of his opponent. Oracle dies! across the map after revealing the entire army. This is a big
ShoWTimE's
deal.
army is out of position too.
Wow.
He's got those Phoenixes to spot as well. The army coming across.
Neeb can just pick up the one immortal of ShoWTimE, pick up a couple of adepts and snipe them, and he's going to be in a great position to just win this. Although he spent a lot of his energy there, Neeb sees that ShoWTimE's out of position, forces double overcharge. There is only going to be one more left after this.
But now look at this army. Still a ton of adepts here from ShoWTimE, and he does have those resonating glaives. Not going to commit even a recall here from Neeb. Gets a bit scared. Has to just go back home.
He picks up an immortal in the middle of the map here, those Neeb, and he's going to get that. Oh, this is huge.
The Phoenixes were such a good choice.
That was his only immortal. He has no more immortal behind this. Warping in Dark Templars right now. I think if Neeb moves out again, ShoWTimE might send a DT in. That kind of like he should have done last game.
Yeah.
Maybe he might do it this time. Oh, the Phoenix is actually flying over the army here, taking so much damage.
Yeah, and they don't have that much energy. I think they can get like 4 or 5 lifts here.
They're going to be the last of their kind as well, because the Stargates are being sniped on the right-hand side there. But as Neeb finally starts to saturate his natural, I can't believe they've got so much. They've rebuilt from there somehow.
Yeah, it's like we're starting a new game in different positions with armies already made here. It's pretty unbelievable where we've come from in this game.
On Apotheosis, like you start bottom left and top right. ShoWTimE had so many more probes though. You can only like comment how good Neeb is for realizing he had more army and going in that position and starting to snipe a lot of stuff. And now he finds himself in a position where he actually has 3 immortals to 0. And he's the one with the Phoenixes. Like his army should be stronger on paper.
ShoWTimE though has a ton of adepts, and the Immortals are not going to do anything.
He has a bit more army supply. I think ShoWTimE's about to go for it. Here we go with the pre-setup.
Yeah, he's got a great concave here as well, although some of the Stalkers caught on the ramp. But look at just how many adepts in the front there are. With those resonating glaives, he has to back off here, and ShoWTimE is committing.
Mothership Core is going to come in here for an overcharge. The Phoenixes are late to the party and are going to pick up a couple of units. The pylon here under a lot of fire, and Neeb, his army is covered with adepts here. Both players still trading so much.
Like mosquitoes, bees swarming the hive, and it looks like Neeb might barely hold on. A lot of his army supply, though, is in these Phoenixes, and they don't have enough energy to lift up.
They can't pick up anything. He has a Warp Prism. Remembers to pick up the Immortal there, but that almost gets sniped. He's going to drop on time, pulls the probes. The Phoenixes are getting back in there, and with the energy coming back, if Neeb's able to hold there, he might be able to win this game.
Oh, he loses that Immortal. And still just trying to pick up 1 unit at a time. Another warp in here. And as you said, no Warp Prism from ShoWTimE or from Neeb.
Oh, these Phoenixes are the most helpless Phoenixes I've ever seen. They're literally standing there. Please give us some energy. They finally got enough.
Please attack me, Stalkers. Save my adepts. Attack me. And Neeb holds.
He needs to remake Mothership Core. Yeah, he holds for now, but he's going to lose some probes in the main here. Already was a little bit behind in walkers earlier, but now he was ahead for a second. Though ShoWTimE get on, no, I don't think he's gonna go through this here. He should cancel that. Dark Templars being warped in across the map. And Neeb is the one who has an observer there.
Yeah, ShoWTimE no observer. Can't snipe the observer.
ShoWTimE, I'm a little bit surprised that he doesn't anticipate that Neeb only has one observer and tries to send DTs in 2 places, but this game has been so close that if this were what would cost him the game, 1 Archon not being there in his army, he would hate himself. So I think he's just making sure he has that back at home.
For sure. And I would love to get a count on just how many. Oh, he snipes it. Even though it looks like he loses 1 Phoenix. I would love to see how many kills those Phoenixes have. They've just done so much work in this game.
Resources lost, actually, or even units lost. He's 135 to 138. Imagine how evenly matched these two are.
The Phoenixes 5, 4, 3, and 9 respectively on their kills. And now ShoWTimE, he still wants to commit. Only adepts here for Neeb. He is going to win the Adept battle. Yeah,
these Archons are a big deal there. But Adepts have the mobility. He's going to sneak past.
He's going to sneak past, and I feel like he can even take this fight. He's not even going to. He's just going to go around them. He's got the better mobility.
He's just going to counterattack that base. No, pulls back. He changes his mind here.
Okay.
Robo going down here for Neeb. Units lost, Valdez, 147 to 145.
Now 146. Super, super close in this game. And the Adepts coming in here really committing to doing that damage. Where's the Mothership Core over here? Only 1 pylon, and all these probes trying to run away now. 2 Archons getting on top of that, and he's just trying to save those probes.
He might have overextended there instead of staying at home and defending. Templar Archives now going down for ShoWTimE. who's still behind in workers, 20 against 30, but he chased away the economy of Neeb on that new base that he took, and Neeb's running out of minerals in his main.
This game
So to
is
speak.
out of control.
Yeah.
The Archons are going to be so good against the army of Neeb because, you know, he's facing only Adepts and Phoenixes. You can't lift the Archons, obviously. They're going to do very well against these Adepts.
You know what could have been the winning move here for Neeb? Making DTs himself. There is zero detection
I think
on the
he
other
was
side.
making it and he canceled it.
Really?
He was making something,
would
a
be-
small building, and then he canceled it. It was in his main, his quote-unquote main now. Didn't get a good look at exactly what he canceled, but he canceled something before.
ShoWTimE posturing on that base here. He's got the Archons that are so tanky against just the Adepts of Neeb. Phoenix is flying back in, but they're going to get sniped very rapidly. ShoWTimE cannot be attacking everything at once, though.
He has lifts. He's going to lift both of the Stalkers, and look at how many Adepts Neeb has. If he has enough with these Resonating Blades, he can kill Archons. It doesn't matter. And I think
And
that's going to be
Neeb's
enough. He's
holding.
going to win the fight.
ShoWTimE might have overextended, sending back one Archon with no shields there. ShoWTimE down to his last few forces. I cannot believe that he attacked against this, and Neeb might have done it. ShoWTimE has a superior... he had a superior army here with the Archons, but he's behind on economy. He's going to use one overcharge there. That's going to be the only one that he's got.
And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Adepts and Phoenixes as the MVP of this of this entire matchup here, as Neeb looks to push on through. Perhaps only Archons left over. There are four. Going to be great against the Phoenixes, but at this point, Neeb just has so many Adepts even.
ShoWTimE needs to warp in units like yesterday here. Make sure he stays alive. He's behind on the economy. He's got half the economy of his opponent, actually. If Neeb plays it slow, he doesn't even have to attack. And as much as ShoWTimE overextended, I don't really see Neeb have that happen. But as I say that, he actually shades in. I guess he's going to try and kite against these Archons.
Yeah, you can do that. You got that, you know, the extra mobility. You can shade around. You can draw the Archons back. It looks like that's what he wanted to do, and he threatens it, so the Archons have to back off.
Those three Phoenixes, man, they can fly to the top side of the map, keep on sniping probes here and there, force ShoWTimE to stay home, while Neeb, he can expand one more time, I think, if he wants to, as his main starting to be run a little bit dry. He starts a robo. Just to be safe. That's what he has started, I think, earlier.
Look at this. The Phoenixes go in, they snipe the Mothership Core, and now all of the army of Neeb is at the other base, and there's no defense.
And there's no recall either, if you wanted to try and go there very fast.
10
ShoWTimE now
probes.
remaking that. But then if he sends the Archons to the main base, the Phoenixes could fly into that other base and snipe more probes. Oh,
well,
Neeb.
no move commands. You are very far ahead, but not the best idea. He's kind of held this base hostage
DTs
now.
across the map, sniping a lot of probes here. And Neeb has no detection. We talked about this. He's getting some robo right now, but so many units are going to die. The DT's locked in with some of these units.
Where's his observer?
And the only force fields... Yeah, he had only one observer, and right now he's almost back.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just barely coming back here. He does have that detection. He still needs to kill the DT. There he goes.
Almost gets out, but not quiet.
That was like the last hope for ShoWTimE. He needed to do critical damage there, and he was not able to. 9 probes is not critical damage at this point.
Neeb on 27 walkers against ShoWTimE's 13. He's got so many Adepts as well. The one unit that brings him so much success. Apparently works in PvP as well. And I think he's done it here. ShoWTimE is fighting back as much as he can. Neeb evacuates his extra base there. Takes refuge next to the Mama Core. But he could even long distance mine, retake a base somewhere as he ran out of minerals in his main. ShoWTimE's actually the only one mining right now.
Yeah, he really is. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to matter. You know, he's got this one base. Is he going to be able to defend it? That's the question. The army of Neeb is just much bigger at this point.
And he's going to cut the production of ShoWTimE completely here by sniping these facilities in his main. I don't know why he's shading away actually right now.
Just scouting probably. Just wants to make sure. Yeah, wants to see where that army is as well. And just sniping everything here. Wants to get rid of all these buildings. And yeah, he's long distance mining at that other base. Very close to his old main. More safe, away from the place where the units just took out his second base.
ShoWTimE's going to send his units at the top to try and kill some of these Adepts. And actually, if he comes in right after Shade was already used, he might be able to do some damage and even get some. But wow, Neeb gets out. He leaves the ShoWTimE does leave the Mothership Core back at home. ShoWTimE's already thinking, what do I do now? What units do I go for? I can't go for DTs yet as an observer. I can't go for Stargates. He would just be bad. There's just not much that seems viable at all.
Outside of Archons, I guess, but they're so expensive.
Yeah, even then, like they don't necessarily win against Adepts. Like you can see Neeb with his kiting just
if you
keeps on
have
pulling
enough,
back.
you know? And that's exactly what he's doing. These Archons doing a ton of damage, though, to those. Oh, and they're bunching up there in the choke. He's taking out so many of these Adepts.
If ShoWTimE makes Stalkers actually behind some of these Adepts.
Yeah.
And actually, he repowered his gates at the top. He repowered his 3 gates at the top, and he still has a couple probes mining.
This game is not over.
Phoenix is flying in.
Oh,
ShoWTimE.
man. Where are we going with this one?
I mean, this is madness, man. Walker count.
No,
Neeb
man,
is still
this
ahead.
isn't madness. This is StarCraft.
That's my line. You thief. ShoWTimE repowering his gateway was really, really smart. He goes for a Twilight Council. I think he might just be aiming for Archons. If we look at his gas, he's got quite a bit of it. But I think
you know, it's a decent idea. The Archons are doing well against a low enough number.
Neeb can do the same, and he's still mining gas from the... Actually, no, he ran out of gas on that base, but he could mine gas on the new base that he's taking, and he's got a bit saved up as well. So both players just basically going to be going for Archons here from there. That one Phoenix.
Yeah.
Careful.
And if we stabilize from here again, first of all, I don't even know, you know, where this is going to go. Neeb does have the bigger army just with this count of Adepts.
He has the mobility. That's the thing. He keeps on going towards that main of ShoWTimE, unpowering those gateways again. What can ShoWTimE really do? He can repower them, but then Neeb will do the same thing later on. So now ShoWTimE's going to remake a pylon next to those 3 gates. Neeb probably is going to unpower it again later.
Yeah.
And I think the mobility and the better economy is still ahead.
And you can see the pylon coming over here, wants to repower those gates. Gonna be able to snipe a couple of Adepts, not bad. Needs any small victory at this point in this game would be good. Look at how many units have died. 81 Adepts to 75, 6 Archons have died for ShoWTimE.
And Neeb playing it very safe, by the way, getting a second observer, saying one of the few ways you could trick me somehow could be DT, so gonna play it safe against that.
Smart.
You know, that's the worst feeling ever when you actually lose to that. ShoWTimE is moving out a little bit far here. He needs to be careful. If he gets engaged into by the Adepts, might not be able to retreat, and he might have to take a fight he doesn't want to take here because Neeb's already ahead in army supply. And he caught up on the walker count, ShoWTimE.
Yeah, Neeb, though, he made that Templar Archives. I think he already had that Archon in his army. If he didn't, he made only 1, and then he transitioned into double Immortal production. I think he's read that ShoWTimE is going to commit heavily to the Archons.
That's the smart move, I think. To go for Immortals first, and then the last second when you're about to be attacked, add some Archons to your composition. He's got 1 single overcharge to work with in defense, but I think it's going to be enough against just a few Archons of ShoWTimE, who's missing some Immortals himself. He's been the entire game. He never was ahead on the Immortal count.
And the interesting thing here is that what's going to be good against the Immortals is a high number of Adepts, but Neeb is already very far ahead in the Adept count. So can you even catch up? I don't think so at this point. So the Immortals are even you know, more brilliant of a choice here for Neeb.
I mean, if you can mass just Archons and Immortals, I guess Adepts will be less important. Like your opponent can have as many as he wants. They're not going to be as impactful. But right now, Neeb is just ahead in every single aspect here that he could be ahead.
If your opponent also has double the amount of Immortals you have, it's also going to be very hard.
Yeah, and right now it's 1-4, so completely imbalanced there.
And it's about to be 1-6, so
bad news. ShoWTimE might be getting a little bit desperate here. We see he's moving in a very risky position here.
Yeah,
I think Neeb might just fight this.
He's trying to poke at these units. You could see just how much damage the Archons do to those biological Adepts.
Neeb is so patient, and he reads the situation so well. So many Protosses would have been like, all right, let's fight. Let's see who wins this game finally. But no, Neeb is like, I've got some overcharge to work with. If you want to attack into it, do it. But otherwise, I'm going to keep on massing Immortals up until I'm tired of you. Warp in maybe a couple Archons and finish this.
Yeah. This is a 30-minute game so far. I haven't even noticed the time fly by because this has just been so much fun. And I think it's going to end sometime soon after Neeb gets like 8-10 Immortals. He fights and somehow he messes up. He like move commands and then we're like, uh-oh, where are we exactly in this game?
You're perfectly right, Valdez. When the Immortal count is this imbalanced, usually there's not much you can do, but there's a lot more Archons here for ShoWTimE. But usually Archons, I don't know, they're not that impactful unless the opponent really messes up, and Neeb, I don't think he's the kind to really mess up against this kind of Archon count. So
he's even kept those 2 Phoenixes alive. Yeah. You know, he had 5, but even the fact that 2 Phoenixes are still left after like 15 minutes after he made them.
You see this? Robotics Bay. I think he's realizing that Neeb's most likely not really going to attack into him, and he says, no, he's not. He says if I can get a couple disruptors, get some good shots. Imagine he landed like 2 big detonations in the middle of those 6 immortals. It could be huge.
Or even if the Adepts bunch up as they're wont to do.
ShoWTimE.
You could just pluck off half the Adept counts as well.
And Neeb is so good. He realized he's got more army, so as much as he wouldn't particularly be that enthusiastic about engaging into overcharge, he's gonna stand outside of the range of it and make sure he uses his immortal counts to take out some key facilities. Even maybe that robo. Oh my god, that would be huge if he could get that.
That would be huge. The overcharges go down. I think there's only one more, and he's going to move in. Going in, he's going to snipe that robotics before the disruptor comes out. Taking a small step back, but Neeb, he wants to swing the hammer, just waiting for the perfect time here.
And he's still expanding one more time here behind us. He has an observer in his main, making sure that no DT can walk in there. No sneaky way for ShoWTimE to come back. Neeb starts his own robo bay as ShoWTimE has to remake the robo from the very start, and he's running dry on minerals, Valdez.
Look at this. He's going to empower the 3 gates. Production for ShoWTimE going down the cybernetics core as well.
Oh, the mothership core of Neeb here, rejoining his army, maybe for a recall. As
Looks
ShoWTimE
like
moves across the map, he's going to get on top of that Nexus before Neeb can get there to try and trade with this.
He needs a recall. Get that mothership
He
core
can't
together.
recall into this army, I think.
No,
you
he needs
can't
to recall
recall
to the other Nexus.
Okay, so Neeb evacuates. Okay, that's smart. He evacuates, goes to that other Nexus.
Yeah, he's just going to go for the buildings of ShoWTimE. It's going to turn into a mini base race. Neeb knows that he has more buildings here.
He's going to turn into a real base race, I guess. ShoWTimE even time warps here to give some time to his probes to potentially get away, maybe start another Nexus elsewhere. This never ends, does it?
Never ends, it looks like, but the army's clamping down on the buildings, on the bases of these 2 players. Look at the buildings here on the map. He's got 1 assimilator down there, a gateway at the top, but Neeb, he's still got 2 Nexi and a ton of buildings down there at his second main.
It feels like the army are bound to clash here eventually, very soon, after 30 minutes of running around and dancing around. And the big number here is going to be 83 army supply for Neeb, just 54 for ShoWTimE, who actually, that base at the bottom, I think Neeb is going to find it very soon. Okay, ShoWTimE sends a probe out. When he sees that army, he's probably going to panic and run to his new Nexus, because that's one of his last few buildings. He's got a gateway at the top of the map.
Yeah, the thing here is that if he cancels this Nexus, he's not going to have enough to make another one. He'll only have 376.
Oh, that Nexus gets found, and he's going to get sniped.
He has to cancel it, though.
Yeah, but he can't even start another one.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dark Shrine starts for Neeb. It took him a long time, but he realizes that there is no detection from ShoWTimE. He starts that at the top side of the map. Still got enough minerals to start double Nexus if he wanted to as well.
The probe's getting to work. They can't mine anymore, so he might as well kill some buildings.
I think ShoWTimE realized he couldn't take on that army, so he's trying to basically kill all of the buildings of his opponent. If you can't beat your opponent's army, don't try to fight it. And that's what he's doing right now. He's trying to kill all of the buildings here of Neeb. But I don't think Neeb's going to let that happen. He's got so many buildings everywhere. ShoWTimE hides an assimilator at the top side of the map and sees everything that there is there. The Spinals, the Dark Shrine as well.
Oh boy. And he's still just desperately trying to kill these buildings here.
Oh, he's going to recall. Neeb's going to recall. He sees ShoWTimE getting very close. Okay.
Yeah, there he goes. And he saves his Nexus. He knows that ShoWTimE has no Nexus. He could even just defend. And the way that Neeb has been playing all game, has been playing so passively, so carefully, so patiently. He may just do that. But look at this, the army of ShoWTimE. It's split GG! Neeb takes the game and wins the series in a 3-0. Undefeated so far is our NA Protoss.
That guy's so good. Didn't lose a single map. ShoWTimE put up a hell of a fight here in the last map, but not quite enough against the super solid Neeb. I feel like that should be his nickname at this point. Super solid Neeb.
You should just call him the Adept, man. He's just been...
the Adept. Super Adept.
Yeah. He's been using those Adepts so well, and ShoWTimE was one of those big names we were talking about since the round of 16, and Neeb makes him look like nothing compared to himself. Neeb really just separating himself from some of these other bigger names in the tournament.
What a performance here by him, and ShoWTimE probably going to be disappointed, but I mean, when you lose to this guy and he plays this well, there's really not much you can do. Neeb, I feel like he's just getting started, really. He's getting better and better every single time. And
keep in mind, he's also moved to Korea as well, so he's going to be practicing on that Korean ladder, see if he can get some great practice over there. Guys, it was a fantastic series. We are going to go to a quick break before that interview with Neeb, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We're on the couch at Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai. I'm sitting here with the beautiful Funka and, of course, Neeb, who just once again 3-0'd his opponent. This time it was ShoWTimE. Neeb, you have 3-0'd everyone you have faced here at IEM. I want to know, what's going through your mind. Are you feeling on fire, if you will?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't expect to 3-0 any of my opponents, to be honest. Like, I thought Tudming would, do some cheese and take a game off me or something. And Hydra, I could have definitely lost to. And then ShoWTimE, I never beat ShoWTimE, so that was really surprising. So I guess I'm on fire right now.
Did you do anything specific to prep for ShoWTimE?
No, not really. I just watched some PvP VODs. Not of ShoWTimE, just GSL last night. That's all I had time for.
So are you just making the statement that NA is better than EU right now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
NA.
NA?
It's way better than EU.
And Roddy is actually clapping in the back. Yeah, he's from EU and yet he's clapping. You wanted to talk maybe about Game 3 or how should we do that?
Game 3. I want to know what goes through your mind when things devolve in that kind of chaotic situation. How do you handle it and what goes through your head?
There's really nothing going through my mind. It's just stressful. I don't really think in those situations. There's such obscure situations that you'll never get into. We were base trading 5 times that game, and we were really kind of clueless. I think we were just doing whatever we thought was best at the moment. We didn't really have any set plans.
And in the middle of that, you figure out that the best answer to everything is to build double Stargate, go for +1 air attack, and go Phoenix. What the hell was that?
Well, he had no anti-air units, so I just felt like it. I was really far behind on the probe count, and then he took a second base, and I was also that put me further behind. So I think I was kind of dead, so I had to do something really weird, and I think that was weird enough.
Is this because you used to be Terran and in a base trade situation, usually you build starports in the back and try to get Banshee with Cloak? Is that it?
Yeah, I guess so, but Phoenix aren't really nearly as good as Banshees in that situation, but it's still good. You could pick off sentries or probes. It's a stressful situation as it is, and Phoenix make it much more stressful for your opponent. So it's just a good choice, I guess. I don't really know, though. I've never played that situation before.
After that initial base trade, was there ever a time where you thought, okay, I might lose this still?
Yeah, every other base trade, it was I'm going to lose, then I'm going to win, I'm dead, then there's no way I can lose this. Something there were a few times that I thought I was really far ahead. I put down a second robo in my new main base because I thought I was so far ahead I could do anything. I shouldn't have done that. I probably should have just gone 1 robo immortal and then Adept Archon, but I don't know, I just felt like it, and I thought I was really far ahead at that point. But yeah, then I don't remember what happened, but the game evened out again.
All right, well, Neeb, you are 3-0 against every opponent. You're 1 step away from taking this tournament. Who do you not want to face in the finals? Who do you want to face in the finals?
I think I would much rather play against Violet. I think it's really difficult to play against Terran in tournaments. It's hard to think under stress against Terrans. Zerg, it's much more straightforward. You do your build order, you're the one deciding the game, dictating the pace of the game, but that's not really the case against Terran. It's much more they can choose what they're going to do. And you kind of have to react instead of Zerg reacting, in PvC.
All right, well, thank you very much, Neeb. Really appreciate it. Neeb, 1 step away from his first major championship victory. Really excited to see him play. And if you're on fire like Neeb, why don't you crack open a fresh Blue Ice G Fuel? Back to you, Kalaris.
Moment. It seems that we are back.
There we go.
There we go. That G Fuel, that one, it got to us very quickly there, and we need to now have that all rearranged. We are fine. We are fine. What a way for Neeb now to move on. Absolutely amazing stuff. 9-0 in maps so far. He defeated a WCS 2015 champion in the round of 8, and now he defeats a WCS 2016 champion in the round of 4. Absolutely amazing, lot of them.
Yeah, what a series. I mean, obviously we can talk about that final game 4 days, and I'm sure that both these gentlemen have plenty to say about it. So
Right, yeah.
I guess let's start at the beginning. Let's start at game number 1, where I really felt that that was a flawless game by Neeb. You know, he shut down the first Oracle, didn't really lose anything, double Photon overcharge right in your face. You know, that's why we don't go Oracle, we go Phoenix. Now, that was a great start. Then obviously the second Oracle didn't really do a whole lot, and the counterattack with the Prism and the Adepts, I loved it. Obviously this attack, I mean, Neeb could have closed his eyes and alt tap and look at a cat running on YouTube and still win this game because he was just so far ahead. Second game, however, what on earth happened there? You saw it with both players as well. ShoWTimE kind of had to laugh at a certain point, as in like, how did I lose this? And Neeb gave like a weird chuckle, how did I win that? Like, that was not supposed to happen. The first two Adepts, they killed like 5 workers, and then in the end it all came down to this final fight. Also notice how like the armies are on the opposite side of where they're supposed to be. Yep. Wow, speechless. Like, I cannot believe what happened there.
It took such a long time, especially in that game, for him to find the hidden expansion, but you know, it went through to this final game and things just got even crazier.
Madness.
The gold minerals, man. Lots and lots of Adepts.
By far game of the tournament so far. What an amazing way to kind of round out that series.
It just really shows you how good both of these players are, that neither one of them immediately crumbles in a situation like this. Because as Neeb was saying on the couch, this doesn't happen in your regular ladder games. Like, if you're Neeb, you're dunking on most people, or you know, you're playing these even matches, but you never have so much on the line that this level of stress comes into it. And being able to hold your composure in a situation like that for both Neeb and ShoWTimE, like, both people's like, what do you do? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun because looking at that highlight video there, we could have extended that for another 2 minutes and still had massive amounts of highlights from that last game. It was that good.
It's kind of cool to see that hypermobility, and in PvP, right? The Adepts are just constantly threatening.
Yep.
And it's not just the frontal engages. There's constantly pairs of Adepts splitting off. Like, one guy sends in the big blob of shades, cancels all but 2 of them, so the other guy cancels all, and then suddenly there's 2 Adepts in his mineral line. It's absolute chaos, and I think it just tested the multitasking to the absolute limit.
I mean, talking about multitasking, Neeb was just incredibly on point throughout the entire series. There was one moment where ShoWTimE on the second map, which I really think is a key map, obviously in this entire best of 5. I mean, we don't have to pay attention to that final game because it was absolute madness. But that second game where ShoWTimE had a great start, killing 5 probes and then also killing the third base. I mean, that is game over normally. Wrap it up, you know. Let's move on to the next map. But there was one moment where ShoWTimE was sending either 4 or 5 Adepts into the main base. He had a Prism there as well to warp in a Dark Templar, and then he had another Dark Templar, and by some miraculous reason he only killed 7 workers, which doesn't make any sense. You're supposed to kill like 27 there. And on the other side of the map, 2 Adepts of Neeb killing 8 workers. That's like, oh my god, you know, there's so much happening in your main, but at the same time you're killing more on the other side of the map with so little than what you're losing to at home. Like, I don't know how he does this, man. That's really, really, really impressive.
I mean, even in the third map, going into those base trade scenarios, he was significantly behind for a little bit during the start of that situation. And then somehow, some way, the decision making him propels him eventually after like 50 minutes of gameplay to come back.
I think at the beginning of that base trade, he was maybe behind, but ShoWTimE was pretty reckless in engaging into the main, and he was up like 8 to 10 army supply, but by the time that they both wiped each other's main base out, suddenly ShoWTimE was down 4-6 army supply, and it had a lot to do with the fact how awkwardly he was fighting the pylons that were Photon overcharge. So Neeb started to make a little bit of a difference there, but I mean, the double Stargate transition, that's just beautiful. I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Very good stuff indeed. Of course, let's check in with the bracket and see what is going on so far as Neeb advances on. That's the bracket.
That's who's playing next. Our next match, it's going to be ESL Maxnomic versus ESL Maxnomic.
Neeb will take up one of those chairs in just a moment as he moves on into the grand finals, and with a 3-0 clean sweep. He is undefeated here in the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai as he awaits his opponent of ShoWTimE versus Violet there. So we have now our TVZ on the way here. ShoWTimE coming in as his replacement, beating all of the Zergs on the way here, 3-0ing Snoot at the start of this tournament. Is this where he makes that final?
I mean, looking at it on paper, the previous opponents are potentially stronger, but Violet did say he likes ZVT.
Right.
And he's a very aggressive player himself. And I think Violet hit the nail on the head. He said, he's very aggressive, I'm very aggressive, I can cheese as well. He said there's going to be a lot of mind games. So I think it's really going to come down to how they play against each other and the build order decisions.
I like this matchup particularly because when you compare the previous opponents he goes up against, a laser generally plays straightforward. Obviously, a map like Dasan Station, anything goes. Snoot, generally speaking, straightforward playstyle. Violet is known for throwing in crazy builds. Violet plays a lot as well on the North American server, so he sees a little bit more of the absolute madness that players can throw your way.
Oh.
And I would always categorize Uthermal as being more of a player like Violet than he is the other players. So this becomes very unique to me just because I feel these players actually match up a little bit better in terms of their styles than they did in the other matchups, which kind of creates this potential for the 3-0s that he's gotten so far.
All right, well, thank you very much, boys. We are going to be heading to a break now once again here, but of course, we will be wrapping up the day with our next semi-final. It is Uthermal going up against Violet to find out who moves on to the grand finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai.